Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. That was Sir Charles Villiers Stanford, Prelude founded on an old Irish melody, number 5 from set 1. I'm Jerry Martin, and welcome to Saturday Stanford Sessions. Thank you all for tuning in. This is a monthly series. This year, I am exploring the works of Sir Charles Villiers Stanford. We remember 100 years of his passing. And in this series of monthly streams is a chance to chat directly with you and share some of this music and maybe explore it in a little bit more detail. So please do say hello in the chat. I see we've got a lot of folks here already, and I really appreciate that. Spread the word, and I hope you enjoy these productions. So that first piece we heard, that was actually one of the first pieces of Stanford that I was introduced to back in the early days of learning pipe organ. And it really appealed to me because I knew the melody from when I was just a little boy. There is in the Irish church tradition, there's a number of these melodies which we hear all the time and are very much part of the standard canon. And if I may, this was the hymn tune, Christ be near at either hand, or either hand, perhaps. That was the Veritas hymnal, so that was the hymnal that I grew up with. So this hymn tune was very much known to me. So then when I came along, I really knew nothing about Stanford at the time, but was introduced to this piece from the Short Preludes. That was kind of how I was introduced to this whole thing. And it really, really is a beautiful melody. But today is the day before St. Patrick's Day. And this is St. Patrick's weekend, I guess, so it's a perfect time to think about all things Irish, Irish composers, Irish saints. So I wanted to talk a little bit about St. Patrick and what on earth St. Patrick's breastplate is that we're going to be hearing a lot more about later on. So St. Patrick, the patron saint of Ireland, and you will see in the subtext of the breastplate the Lorica of St. Patrick. So what on earth is all of that? Well, there are lots of legends around St. Patrick. And that is the shamrock, one of the national symbols of Ireland. And one of the legends is that St. Patrick used this to teach the natives about the Trinity. The idea being that there were 3 leaves, yet 1 leaf. So we still kind of learn it that is the case, that's potentially how he used it as an evangelization tool. But St. Patrick, his very first trip to Ireland was not a pleasant one. He was actually kidnapped as a youngster and brought to Ireland as a slave and worked tending the sheep and the pigs and whatnot in the mountains. Subsequently, when he returned to Brittany, he felt called to return to Ireland and bring Christianity. So that he did. And he, in about 432, is when he's credited as bringing Christianity to Ireland. And we talk about Celtic Christianity, there's kind of a fusion of Christianity, a lot of the traditional Irish pre-Christian symbology gets brought into things. Anyhow, that's a stained glass picture of one of the High Kings of Ireland, and to the right is the Hill of Tara. So this is where the High King of Ireland, so many burials and ceremonies would have taken place here. So St. Patrick was on his way to meet people and evangelize at the Hill of Tara, and legend tells us that the prayer, which is now St. Patrick's breastplate, or the Lorica of St. Patrick, was what he prayed before he went out. And there's a miracle associated with that. So legend has it that St. Patrick prayed and that this ambush was being planned by the High King Lyra, that he didn't want St. Patrick to go and show the faith. But St. Patrick was disguised. So he appeared. Apologies, technical difficulties, but this wouldn't be live streaming if we didn't have technical difficulties now, would it be? So anyhow, just to finish out what I was saying about St. Patrick, so he was disguised. He and his monks, they appeared as wild deer and a fawn following them. Now, can you imagine that? He is just being completely disguised. So he made it to the Hill of Tara, and everything that followed came from there. So we're going to be returning to St. Patrick's breastplate, but I did briefly want to mention also the importance of Stanford. On the left, we've got a manuscript there. So George Petrie went into Ireland, into the countryside in the 1800s and documented the Irish traditional melodies. So he traveled around and he would meet with the natives. They would sing and hum the tunes, and he would write them down. He had a scribe helping him out as well. Then ultimately, those manuscripts were edited, and we owe Stanford for bringing this publication to bear. And you can find this on IMSLP. It's a collection of Irish music, George Petrie, edited by Sir Charles Villiers Stanford. And several of the tunes from this collection made it into his compositions. So let's get back to some music. But let's not forget that Sir Charles Villiers Stanford was an Irishman living abroad. So he was living in England. Of course, I grew up in Galway, and now I'm living in Portsmouth, Ohio. And it's St. Patrick's weekend. And of course, I'm involved in all of the other shenanigans. So we actually had our annual St. Patrick's Day Parade in town this morning. And later this evening, I will be down at the Holy Redeemer Irish Festival with my friends in the Rose Mountain Ramblers, playing some traditional Irish music. And for any of my friends in Portsmouth or Scioto County or in the area, do come hear us down at Port City Pub tomorrow, playing some traditional Irish music to commemorate St. Patrick's weekend. But in any event, let's get back to the main event here. And listen to a little bit more Stanford. So since it is St. Patrick's weekend, I figured we should have something intensely Irish. And there's one melody which I think is really, really beloved in the Irish tradition. And Stanford wrote a series of intermezzos founded on various things, but this one is founded on an Irish air. So thanks to the mystery of technology, let me go ahead. I'm going to let you follow along this one. I'm not going to tell you just yet what the tune is, but I think you'll figure it out. So, Intermezzo on an Irish air. We are actually playing the organ of the Armley Schultz, sampled by Lavender Audio, which is really a fantastic instrument. So, I'll check in with you on the other side of this. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Isn't that something? It's a beautiful arrangement, and I owe my friend, who we are going to meet here in just a moment, Dr. Stanley Workman, credit for introducing me to that amazing, amazing arrangement of the London Derriere. Stanford wrote this later in his career, so he was clearly, I think, looking back with some nostalgic eyes, and that was definitely towards the end of his career that he wrote that. So, in any event, I see lots of folks here in the chat. Thank you all for dropping by. I just wanted to take a moment to drop in and say hi to folks. If you haven't already, please do say hi. But I see lots of friendly faces here, and I really, really do appreciate it. I'm also just checking back to make sure I haven't missed any major issues with audio glitches or other problems. But hello, just so good to see you all here today. Aaron, hello, how are you doing? Alexander Wunderlich, thank you for tuning in. Brooks, always great to see you. Cameron, of course. Cassie, good to see you. Gerald Long, Graham Twist. I'm here, apparently. Who knew? Jill Herzog, thank you for being here with us. Joe Humans, good to see you, Joe. Matt Leach, thank you for tuning in. We have a very international crowd, as always, and I really appreciate it. Maurice, good to see you. Thank you for being here. Hi, Nancy. R. Sexton, good to see you. Razbuzz, good to see you. Second Presbyterian, I'm glad to see that we have the local representation. Stuart Gaskell, thank you for being here. And Zhanghuad, thank you for being here as well today. So good to see you all. I really do appreciate it. So, returning to music here, and Stanford, of course, I'm taking a deep dive into his organ works, which I think really are underrated and not performed as often as they should be. So hopefully at the end of this year, maybe if you're an organist or a musician, you'll consider adding some of these to your repertoire. As a lover of music, I definitely recommend getting to know his music. But Stanford is very well known for his church music and, of course, the vocal tradition that goes with that. So, as part of my special presentation this afternoon, I'm honored to be joined in the studio by Dr. Stanley Workman, and we're going to go meet him and chat with him in just a second. But before we get there, we have prepared a couple of recordings from Second Presbyterian here in town, which I'm looking forward to sharing with you. The first is one of a song which Stan is going to sing, and I played on our Kilgan organ. This is one of Stanford's 6 Bible songs. This one is based on text from the book of Psalms, and it was set for voice and organ. He wrote a series of 6 of these. So let's, with the magic of technology, head on over to Second Presbyterian and hear a song of freedom. I hope you enjoy.
That
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back, and welcome to Dr. Stanley Workman. Stan, that was absolutely beautiful. Thank
Well,
you so
you're too
much for
kind.
sharing that with us. And sorry about the audio glitch we had there. So I'm still figuring out my control surfaces and whatnot, and that's what happens when you hit the wrong button on an iPad. So thank you for your patience as we're learning through all of this. But it is a joy to have Dr. Workman with me here today to chat a little bit about music and about Stanford and about all the exciting things that are happening in Portsmouth. I've been living here in Portsmouth for about 8 years now. Stan is a native, and it was the most amazing encounter to meet him and learn about all of the wonderful musical things that have been happening in this incredible community over the past several years. So some of you know a little bit about me, but this is a chance to get to know Stan. And I was wondering, Stan, tell us a little bit about you and your journey into music.
Well, I grew up here in Portsmouth, Ohio, of course, and my family, we had a lot of people in our family. I have five siblings. At that time that I began getting interested in music, there were only uh, four other siblings, but needless to say, money was not a plenty, and we did not have a piano, and so I began my career singing in children's choir. I had a very good children's choir director, and then I began in band, learning the
Mhm.
trumpet, and that's how I learned to read music. And I just decided that I was going to teach myself to play the piano, and so I became
Wow.
a frequent guest at many neighborhood houses that had pianos.
Wow.
I would sort of invite myself in. Anyway, it's a rather amusing story. But and then when I became interested in organ, I started sneaking into churches and playing organs when I thought nobody was there and that kind of thing.
Fantastic.
So, but I really began formal piano study when I was about 12 years old, and organ study the next year. And I had some very good teachers, and they set me straight on what to do. So by the time I was a sophomore in high school, I was playing at a church, and and then I was interested in playing the piano and the organ, and then I was also a singer, and I became terribly smitten with opera.
Mm.
And so when I went to college, I actually majored in voice performance, and so and I went to Kent State University and the University of Memphis and Indiana University, and I landed back in Portsmouth in 1992 with the idea that I would be here a couple years and build up my
Wow.
funds and go to Germany and audition for operas there. And but I guess you might say God has a different plan for all of us. And I've been here for 30 some years.
Wow.
And it's home, and my family is here. So
Yeah.
that's sort of how my career got
That's just
in
wonderful.
motion.
Absolutely
We
wonderful.
we had a light opera company for many years.
Hmm.
Started in 1984 with a production of HMS Pinafore. Then that summer we did Mikado, and I would come back every summer, and we would mount a production of one of the Gilbert and
Uh-huh.
Sullivan. Then we moved in to light opera when we had a bigger space to work with,
Hmm.
and so and coming back to Portsmouth has had a lot of joys
Hmm.
and a way to experience different facets of a musical career. I I don't look upon my career as glamorous, I mean, but I do feel at home and welcome and appreciated.
And there are just amazing things happening in this town. I mean, I have benefited from being part of some of the amazing productions here in town, and just going to hear some of these. I remember the first time I went to hear Nine Lessons in Carols, and it was before we had YouTube or streaming, or were even recording these services. And I remember walking into the church. You had the full orchestra and the choir, combined resources from the community, and I was just completely blown away. The thing that made me sad was I had no way at the time to share it with others. I couldn't say, and I think we were talking with some of our friends here in town recently that sometimes we talk about the music here in Portsmouth, and folks who are not in Portsmouth say, no, that's you're making that up.
They can't believe that it happens.
But fortunately now we can share with the world like this, and we're so grateful for technology and the friends that we've made, and for everybody who tunes in to support this. Stan, I was really interested hearing for you that it was self-motivated from a young age, that you were seeking out opportunities to play and whatnot. Were there musicians in your family? Was there any ancestral music, or this was entirely Stan?
Believe it or not, no, except my grandfather, whom I did not meet, he passed away 3 weeks after I was born. But I understand that he played the organ, only he played in a more what you might call theater organ style.
Sure.
And probably on Hammonds that were kind of the new thing then. And but apparently he did have, and my mother had a very nice voice. She sang in the church choir, and I know that I was very influenced by her singing as a young boy, and I would often pester her, and I had a book of songs, and I would say, please sing for me. And she never realized what she was
what she was getting
into. Right.
And here we are some years later. But what an amazing journey. So I'm just keeping an eye on the chat here. Again, thank you all for being here. I see Joyce. Good to see you. Joyce is one of my musician friends based in Wheelersburg. She's another organist here in town.
Riepenhof.
But as I'm keeping an eye on things, if you do have any questions for us, we're just going to go through kind of just some of the wonderful things here, but feel free. I'll keep an eye on the chat here as well. So back to Stanford, and I mentioned my journey with Stanford. I was aware of the Stanford competition in the Feshkill in Dublin, Ireland. That's a famous competition over there. I knew the 6 short preludes, the set 1, and that was really it. In the churches in the west of Ireland, we certainly didn't have choir, so I wasn't exposed to the evensong services and all of that. So even though I'm from Ireland, and I knew of Stanford, this year I'm filling in all of the blanks. However, it was coming here to Portsmouth, and Dr. Workman here, Stan, introduced me as part of our projects where Stan will have homework assignments. And we're going to talk about the latest homework assignment as we finish up this segment. But Stan said, you need to learn the introduction and the Fantasia and Toccata, which is amazing. And then likewise, the arrangement of the Londonderry air that we just heard, it was Stan who introduced me to that for a St. Patrick's Day concert we gave a number of years ago. So yes, my introduction to Stanford was kind of like that. But how about you, Stan? Can you think back to when you first came across the man, the music?
Yes, I remember very well. I began studying with a new organist that came to town to direct the music at the other Methodist church, and I sort of jumped ship from my home church and joined the choir there. It was called Trinity United Methodist, and but my organ teacher, David Carnell, he was of the Episcopal tradition. And so we had sort of an Anglo-Methodist thing going on. Anyway, he introduced me to a lot of wonderful anthems. And the first Stanford piece I remember is Beati Quorum Via, which is one of the 3 Latin motets that Stanford wrote. And I just remember being really entranced by the harmonies. It was an a cappella piece, and it was in 5 or 6 parts, I think 5 maybe. But anyway, it was just a wonderful composition. That was my first introduction. And then when I came back to Portsmouth in '92, I began, really seriously playing the organ again. And I bought a wonderful CD by Colin Walsh called English Organ Music.
Okay.
And anyway, I became very acquainted with the Fantasy and Toccata. And then on another CD, I had the Postlude on a Theme by Orlando Gibbons. And then also the great hymn tune Engelberg.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we know it as when in our music God is glorified. I think there are many different texts
Right.
that it is set to. And so, and then there was a wonderful CD that John Rutter put out,
Mm-hmm.
Howells, Stanford, and Perry, you
Mm-hmm.
know, a lot of those evening services.
Yeah.
And so I really became kind of immersed in that English
Mm-hmm.
music. And I think the time was right for it because, you know, the pendulum had swung back to the romantic
Mm-hmm.
feeling English, rich, warm organ sounds,
Mm-hmm.
and so I became very interested in all of that.
That's fantastic. And as those of you will know, that my passion is music from this era. So we think about Hollands and Lemaire and all of those composers who were traveling internationally. Stanford was working in England, overlapping. So these are the sounds that we're enjoying. So it's just really amazing music.
It really is.
So I mentioned we were going to talk about homework assignments and things going on. Stan, can you tell us a little bit about some of the musical venues in town? You're the artistic director of the Vern Rife, but then maybe specifically tell people about what's happening at Easter time this year.
Okay. Well, as you mentioned, I'm the artistic director of the Vern Rife Center for the Arts here in Portsmouth, which is part of the university, Shawnee State University here. And I'm part of the faculty there. We have voice and choir that I teach, and I'm also the music director for the BFA musical theater program.
Mm-hmm.
And I get to do a lot of exciting things, and one of the things we've been doing over the past few years is doing combined performances with the university choir there and my church choir. And some of you may have heard the Messiah performance that we did last Good Friday. But this Good Friday, we're joining in the many commemorations of the 300th anniversary of the first performance of St. John Passion by Johann Sebastian Bach. And of course, we're working very diligently. I always say that we're pushing a huge log up a mountain, and we just got to keep, you know, steadily applying the pressure. But we're working very hard. I have to be quite a slave driver with the choir and getting them to learn the music and almost developing an athletic ability to sing all of that music. And then there's dealing with the orchestra, the soloists, and then I kind of have to know what I'm doing when I'm conducting. So, you know, it's, you know, and then I'm also dealing with things like finding risers to put the orchestra on, and
all of the nuts and bolts behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's a great project, and I'll be glad to see it come to fruition.
Absolutely. So we are really looking forward to Good Friday. It's going to be a very special time. Again, friends who are in the region here, don't miss out an opportunity to hear St. John's Passion, the fruits of all of this work that we've been doing. But we are hoping, I believe, to make the recordings available. So links will be forthcoming in due course as well. So we are looking forward to sharing this. So it really is just an amazing place, and the way Stan has been able to draw people together from the university, the local choirs, but also local and regional musicians. There's so much that goes into this, and we're so grateful for all that you do for us. Well, so thank you.
Thank you.
And, you know, it really enriches my life, you know, my day job working here at Southern Ohio Medical Center, but what a joy it is to be part of this musical community and do all that we do. So hopefully we will see some of you all on Good Friday. Well,
yes.
I think it might be time for some more music. And Stan is going to regale us with another performance from Second Presbyterian. So we're going to transport down there and do a single take through it this time. So coming back into the weekend that's with us, St. Patrick's Breastplate, as I mentioned, this is that ancient hymn and text that's passed down in Celtic Christianity that is believed to have been the prayer that St. Patrick said as he was heading into essentially spiritual battle as he was bringing Christianity to the Irish. And then Stanford, in preserving these hymn tunes, was asked to set the breastplate to music, and he chose two hymn tunes. The first of which you've heard already. It was the very first prelude that I opened with. We sometimes know it as Gartan. So that prelude, the tune of that is used in the full version of St. Patrick's Breastplate. Now, there are also many, many, many verses to St. Patrick's Breastplate. So we did take we made some cuts. I think you'll really enjoy this special performance of St. Patrick's Breastplate. And Stan, thank you again for dropping by.
It's been a great pleasure.
So much fun. So without further ado, let's see if we can cue this up and we'll hear St. Patrick's Breastplate. Well, thank you very much again, Stan. Absolutely amazing. So now that we have the tunes of St. Patrick and Gartan in our ears, we're going to come to the final number of the broadcast, which is the conclusion of Stanford's Sonata Celtica. My goal is to get all of these sonatas produced over the course of this year. Sonata Celtica features Irish themes, but of course includes St. Patrick's Breastplate, and that's what he calls it in this case. So you'll recognize some of those themes right out the gate. And so on. So that theme features prominently. He's going to develop it as Stanford does, and we do have Gartan in here as well. So on. So I'm going to take the score off for this one because I want you to just really enjoy this music. It is so exciting. As an organist, you can really get stuck in to play this. It is a wonderful play, as my organ teacher Francis Moore used to refer to pieces like this. And I really do enjoy it. It is just a wonderful tribute. But before we do that, just wanted to take a last quick view of the live chat. I see we had a couple of extra folks join us. Let's see, Seth Blank, how are you? And let's see, Nancy, good to see you with us. I'm not sure if I caught you earlier. And Graham, of course, wonderful to see you. I was just checking to make sure I don't have any additional questions here. Again, I'm guessing the audio sounds okay. I haven't had, certainly it sounds great here in the room. But hopefully it's been sounding great out there in internet land as well. So without further ado, let's launch into St. Patrick's Breastplate. And I have moved back to Billerbeck for this. This is an eclectic German organ, but again, I found that where Stanford is placed in history, his music works so well on organs of that period. And although the Billerbeck instrument is newer, it certainly has a lot of those German qualities that just translate so well to this music. So, St. Patrick's Breastplate. Here we go. Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed playing it. What an absolutely remarkable piece of music. St. Patrick's Breastplate, the conclusion from Sonata Celtica, it is so Stanford, where there's just so much emotion baked in there. He really loves to just take things over the top. And of course, I was just signaling over here behind me, we have Dr. Stanley Workman, and I am so grateful, Stan, for you for dropping by today and for all of the wonderful musical things that happen in town. So once again, thank you for spending this time with me on a Saturday morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you may be, or perhaps you're catching on catch up. Be sure to subscribe. There will be more Stanford. I'm trying to get a little something uploaded every week. And of course, I will be sharing links and posts of everything that we are getting up to here in town as well. And of course, Saturdays are now becoming increasingly exciting. In addition to all of the Sunday streams, we now have a series of Saturday streams to watch out for. So once again, thank you all for tuning in. And until next time, I'll say slán go fóill. Bye for now.